Hi everybody, and welcome to this meet and greet here at the KVIFF TV Park and of course on KVIFF TV itself. And our guests in the first meet and greet of the 59th edition of Carlo Vivari are the makers of the Portuguese main competition film La Vida Luminosa, if I'm saying it right, The Luminous Life. And they are namely writer-director João Rosas, producer Pedro Borges, and the film's stars Francisco Melo and Cécile Matignon. If I could start, please, with you, João. How did you enjoy yesterday evening's international premiere of The Luminous Life here in Carlo Vivari?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. Well, it was a great, first of all, a great honor to be selected for the main competition of the festival. And of course, a great pleasure to be here and have this international premiere in a beautiful packed room with 1,200 people. It's a great emotion to share the film with all these people.
I believe this is your feature debut. What was the starting point for the whole project?
It was my interest in filming the transition from younghood to or adolescence to adulthood, and to film this process through the discovery of the city and new friends and new relationships, and cinema as a way of portraying that transition.
And why the title? It's such a lovely title, The Luminous Life. Why that particular name?
Well, many reasons. One of the reasons it's not a good one, but it's an interview I read from a young woman, a teenager in Gaza, during the war, where she said that, no one is going to save us, but what you can do for us is make the most of the life you're living, and so share it with your friends, love each other, enjoy your meals, make the most of it. And this stayed with me, this idea that life can be luminous, even though we live in very dark times. Also, I think it's a very luminous film, a summer film, and with this energy of young people and the discovery of new ways of living.
And is it the case that you made two earlier short films also with Francisco playing the same character in childhood?
Yeah, well, Francisco, I met him when he was 11, when I was making my first professional short film. And since then, it's been a pleasure to work with him, and so the following films were written already thinking about him. I could say that each film is also, and it's the case of The Luminous Life as well, it's also an excuse to keep this ongoing relationship going, which turned from, of course, a working relationship to friendship. And so, yeah, this film was born out of this interest in the transition to adulthood, but of course, a great interest in and pleasure of working with Francisco and finding new people like Cécile.
And can you imagine, I don't know, in the future doing another film with the same character along the lines of Richard Linklater and his before movies?
Yeah, well, it's a possibility. I don't like to close doors. I think it's cinema opens doors, and it's always a door that will remain open to go back to his character and to work with Francisco again. Yeah.
And is his character in any way a kind of stand-in for you personally?
No, I mean, what I think it has in common with me as a director that I like to stress is the fact that he's a listener and that he's mostly listening to others, and that's where his inspiration for his own life or his guidelines come from. And that's what I try to do as a director, is not to impose myself, but to be open to what other people bring. I have a starting point with a script, but then the script is worked along the lines of these people that I meet through the process of making the film. And so all the film is built around this idea of building an organic ensemble with all the elements that the different people bring, and of course my own ideas, but that they don't impose over the ideas of the others.
Thank you very much. Pedro, as the producer of the film, how did you come on board with this project? How did you get involved with the project?
Well, we have known each other in spite of our difference of age. We had met many years ago, and then I knew the shorts that João had directed, and he came to me with the project, and it was easy to understand, more or less easy to understand what he wanted to film, because it was the character that was getting into a new age, a new life, so it went quite smoothly.
I guess it's not a huge budget movie, but was it difficult to raise the funding to make this film?
No, it's, I mean, the film is a co-production between Portugal and France. We work with the Portuguese Film Institute that gives the first seed money. We have the Portuguese public broadcaster involved also, and which is not so easy, but was in this case. And there is a tax cash rebate that we have now on work. So it was small, but it was good. And the support in France from Cinéma du Monde, from the CNC. So for a first feature film, I think João could work with the means, with what he needed. We had an extensive preparation. The shoot was only 40 days of shooting, but he had the time to do all the preparation, finding out all these characters, because there's only one professional actor in the film, and so even if he works with some friends that you don't know when you watch the film, so it's not important, but to get all the characters, namely the character of Cécile, he had this proper time to do it.
And what can it mean for the film, the fact that, and for the career of the film, that it was selected for the main Crystal Globe competition here in KVIFF?
It is very, very important for us. I mean, more and more festivals are the link that can provide the film's international exposure, that can get a sales agent, which is also very important nowadays. And the selection for KVIFF immediately got us into receiving invitations from other festivals, and people would like to screen the film, and invitation for other festivals. And the circulation, international circulation of films is something which is also very important from the national point of view. I mean, we still have the fundings from the Film Institute and the public broadcaster, also because we have films that circulate internationally.
Thank you very much, Pedro. If I could turn to the actors. Cécile, you play Chloe. How well do you feel this film captures your generation?
It's an interesting question, because I think I am in between, because I'm not exactly from the generation of Francisco and the other people, and I'm between João and Francisco. But so maybe I cannot answer directly of the question of generation, but I think it captures quite well what is happening for young and less young people in Lisbon, and maybe in other town of Europe. That, yeah, we are trying to live this kind of life, but the cities are changing. They are becoming really more expensive, and it's not easy. But we have this wish to get somewhere with that.
Your character seems really confident, like she knows what she wants in life. How close is your character to you?
Very close. It depends on the periods, I would say.
And what about the language aspect? Did you already speak Portuguese, or how, you must have, I guess, to get the role?
Yes, because I was already in Portugal since 2 years when we meet each other. So I already spoke Portuguese, and then it was funny because we had to rewrite together what João wrote, because the Portuguese that he wrote for my character was not the Portuguese that I speak. My Portuguese is worst, so we
I get it.
we turned more dirty.
Can I just say, yeah, I was very interested. You won't get that feeling, of course, because you don't speak Portuguese, but I was very interested in the different accents of Portuguese-speaking people, but who are in Lisbon, but who are not Portuguese. So you have Cécile, then you have a Spanish character, an Italian character, people from outside of Lisbon who speak, of course, with the regional accents. And I was very interested in this music that each character brings to the language.
Well, if I could turn now to you, please, Francisco, or Francisco, I'm sure I'm saying your name very wrong,
No.
but what was your experience of playing the main character in the film, Nicolau?
Very nice. I mean, like João says, Nicolau, the character is more of a listener. So as an actor, I didn't have a lot of lines, and the experience was just comfortable, you know, no stress of, oh my God, I have so many lines today, and was more just reading, laying down, waiting for them to get ready, and being around very nice people and having a great time.
And did you feel like your character was similar to you? Because obviously you're achieving much more in your life being an actor than your character.
I mean, I like to think that I'm much cooler than the character, but sometimes I'm more confronted with the fact that I have much more similarities than I think with.
Also, you're in the film. You're a musician. Are you a real-life musician? I mean, do you play in bands or something like that?
The band from the movie is actually a band that I'm on. I think João takes a lot of elements from life, like that, for example. And yeah, I've been playing for quite a while. And actually, while shooting the movie, the actor that's my father is a great and very big Portuguese jazz double bassist, and he kind of influenced me into exploring that life, and I've been learning double bass for 2 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm getting into that life.
Super. If I can go back, please, to you, João. One kind of amusing character in the film is, I think he's a film critic or something. Amusing character in the film is, I think, a critic who only speaks in quotations from Robert Bresson. What's that idea? What's that all about? Why Bresson?
Well, first of all, because Bresson is very important for me as a reference, and his book, Notes on the Cinematographer, it's sort of my cinematic Bible, and a book that I go back to often, even when I'm not preparing a film. And his work has influenced me along the way, since I was a student, and it was probably the first director that I saw, or whose films I saw, that I really saw a personal point of view on the world, like a really very personal approach to cinema. And so I think it's one of the challenges for me was to make a sort of Bressonian romantic comedy. But also I'm aware that Bresson is a very arid and dry. His style is it's not easy to get into. And so I wanted to look at it from an ironical point of view as well. I mean, it's an important reference, but I think it's important as well to be able to make fun of yourself. And I know that nowadays most people watch a Bresson film or read this book and think he's maybe a bit too orthodox or too extreme. And so, yeah, I wanted to include this reference, but in a light way, you know, and to be able to look at it from a point of view of someone who is not in the movies or doesn't work in cinema, who is like Nicolau, and who is confronted with this very strict, orthodox intellectual who only speaks in French through quotations.
To go back to the question of having only one actual actor in the film, why did you work with non-actors, and what were the pros and cons of that approach?
Well, I can't see any cons, but I think it started when I did the first film with Francisco, where he was 11, and the other girl who was in the film, and she's still in Vida Luminosa, plays Mariana, his best friend, and they were both 11. So you know, when you're auditioning kids. You have these very talented kids who speak French and play piano, and then you have the normal kids. And I was interested in the normal kids, and so I sort of got used to it. As I started, I got used to working with non-actors, and also one of the most interesting and probably the most personally richest phase of the work is the auditions, where I get to meet the people. And so, as Pedro said, I was lucky enough that the production allowed me to, or I had the means for me to have this long pre-production period, both choosing the locations and the actors. And so the auditions are a way of answering or giving an answer to my personal curiosity towards, in this case, this young generation who was living in Lisbon, both Portuguese and non-Portuguese young people. And so it's a very rich process where I get to meet a lot of different people, and I like that they also bring these personal elements to the film, and then it's built around this idea of sharing and a dialogue that we build together. And that with an actor it's very different. So I think an actor, it makes sense to play certain characters. In this case, it's the guy who's doing the job interview. And for the character himself, I think it made sense. There was an actor who is someone who is not being, he's pretending to be. And but I'm more interested in being, human beings.
My final question is, Lisbon looks great in the movie. What about the locations? Was there any significance to those, or do they mean something to you personally, where the places you shot, or were they selected in a kind of random way?
No, not at all. Not everything. There are very little random elements in the film. I mean, unless, of course, the magic things that happen while you're shooting, especially in a city where you have a lot of uncontrollable urban elements, and I like to include those. But all the places have been carefully chosen. Because for me, cinema is also a way of having this sort of sentimental cartography of the city, and so most of the places are important for me, and I have a relation with them, from the cemetery to the Cinematheque to the neighborhood where he's living with his parents, and all these places are part of my personal history with the city. But my main challenge is not to have a nostalgic or a sort of memorial discourse on these places or my young years, 20 years ago, but to sort of have a present tense look and start to relive these places through them, and also that they also bring their own places, and together we can build this, draw this map and build this city in common, you know, like a common place of cinema and feelings, emotions.
Excellent, thank you. Well, Pedro Borges, Francisco Melo, Cécile Matignon, and João Rosas, thank you so much for taking part in this meet and greet, and good luck in the main competition. Thank you very much. Thank you.